You've probably heard about Bad Bunny headlining the 2026 Super Bowl, but what Forrest Frank and Corey Asbury are planning to do in response sparked a conversation that went far beyond an alternative program, sparking debates about faith, politics, and what it means to truly represent Jesus Christ. On September 28, 2025, during NBC's Sunday Night Football broadcast, the NFL made it official. Bad Bunny, the Puerto Rican reggaeton and Latin trap artist, would headline the Apple Music Super Bowl 59th halftime show on February 8, 2026 at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. The announcement marked a historic first. Bad Bunny would be the first primarily Spanish-language artist to headline the Super Bowl halftime show as a solo act. For fans, this represented a massive cultural milestone. But for conservative audiences, the selection immediately triggered backlash. And just days after the announcement, worship artist Corey Asbury saw an opportunity to turn a moment about wickedness into a moment about Jesus.
All right, y'all, I just had an insane idea. What if we did an alternative, family-friendly halftime show for the Super Bowl? Every year, everyone is all up in arms about the performer for the halftime show. And I get it, because 9 times out of 10, it's raunchy as heck. You're seeing stuff you don't want to see. You're hearing stuff you don't want to hear, especially for your kids. So what if we threw together an alternate show at a different venue with just the biggest Christian artist and glorified the name of Jesus on a gigantic scale at a gigantic level? I've already talked to my boy Forrest. He is down to clown. He's down to play music is what I mean. Who else would you want to see there? My vision is this: blow it up huge. Let's get a stadium. Let's go crazy. While people are glorifying money and fame and sex and all kinds of stuff that we don't want to see, we can lift up the name of Jesus. So if you're down, like this post, share it with your friends, and suggest who you think should join for this show.
Within days, the concept exploded. Christian artist Forrest Frank, whose song Lemonade had recently debuted at #1 on iTunes and peaked at #2 on the Billboard Hot Christian Songs chart, quickly showed support and committed to joining Asbury. The timing couldn't have been better, as Corey and Forrest had recently reconciled after a public falling out earlier that summer, and now were coming together as friends, ready to take a stand for Jesus on one of the biggest stages imaginable. But then something unexpected happened. Just days after Asbury's viral proposal, conservative political organization Turning Point USA announced its own alternative halftime show, promising a performance celebrating faith, family, and freedom. The announcement came with no confirmed venue, no artists, and no clear details, just a declaration that they were doing it. Almost immediately, speculation began swirling online. Fans wondered whether Asbury and Frank would partner with TPUSA. The possibility seemed logical on the surface, as both groups opposed the Bad Bunny selection, and both wanted a family-friendly alternative. The question dominated Christian circles, but by early November, Asbury posted an update video to provide some clarity to fans.
All right, y'all, I've been getting absolutely blown up about this Jesus Bowl 26 alternative halftime show idea. I'm getting tens of thousands of messages and comments. I love it, but I'm here to provide some clarity on this thing. So about a month ago, Forrest and I soft launched this idea of an alternative halftime show. People loved it. It took off. It went viral quickly. Seemed like there was a desire for something like this. And in the midst of that, Turning Point USA announced their own alternative halftime show. No venue, no artist, but they said, hey, we're doing this. So in the spirit of unity, Forrest and I jumped on a call with their team to talk it through. A productive, amicable discussion, but at the end of the day, the two visions are just incompatible. We want this to be a Jesus moment. We want this to be a time where culture is doing one thing and we're doing another. We're glorifying the name of Jesus. We're showing his preeminence. We're worshiping. We're praying. I almost see it like an evangelistic Billy Graham crusade kind of thing, where there's a call to the altar. There's a call to give lives to Jesus, and there's just mass salvation taking place across this nation. How beautiful would that be? So now it's time to find a venue, find donors and sponsors, because this is going to cost legitimately millions of dollars. Forrest and I are not taking a dime from this. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is simply, let's offer something to the nation and to the Lord. So we've got our work cut out for us. If y'all know people, let us know, connect us, send me a DM, send me a message. and let's see what God does. Announcement coming soon. Love you guys. Peace.
The conversation had revealed something critical. The visions couldn't be reconciled. This wasn't a minor disagreement about logistics or branding. This was about the core mission. Corey had made his position crystal clear. By walking away from the TPUSA partnership, Asbury and Frank made a strategic choice. Their event would be about the gospel, not politics, not nationalism, not culture war messaging, just worship, evangelism, and leading people to Jesus. This decision wasn't universally celebrated. Some conservatives viewed the separation as a missed opportunity and a fracturing of the movement when unity was needed most. Others questioned whether Asbury and Frank were being unnecessarily divisive or overly sensitive about partnering with a conservative group. But for Asbury and Frank, the stakes were too high to compromise. They were proposing something unprecedented, a stadium-scale evangelistic event competing directly with the Super Bowl. If that event became associated with political partisanship, it would undermine the very purpose. With the Turning Point USA question settled, Asbury and Frank could focus on building their vision, and the response revealed just how much support they had. The viral momentum wasn't just from fans. Within days of the initial announcement, some of the biggest names in Christian music were publicly expressing interest. But at the same time, Asbury also confronted the financial reality head-on. He and Frank weren't naive about what they were proposing. That financial transparency was crucial. In an era where Christian leaders and influencers have faced scrutiny over monetizing ministry, Asbury and Frank's pledge to take no personal profit established credibility. They weren't building an event to profit from. They were funding a mission to bring salvation to new believers. But that also meant they needed major donors and sponsors willing to invest millions in an unproven concept. They'd need to secure a stadium-sized venue capable of holding tens of thousands. They'd need to coordinate dozens of artists, build a broadcast infrastructure capable of streaming to millions simultaneously, and create a production that could compete at least visually with the NFL's billion-dollar spectacle. And they'd need to do all of this while maintaining the spiritual integrity of the mission. To understand the weight of what Asbury and Frank were attempting, consider what a Billy Graham crusade actually required. Graham's organization would spend months planning each event, securing venues, training counselors, coordinating follow-up with local churches, and preparing pastoral care for new believers. The logistics were massive, and the spiritual preparation even more so. Asbury and Frank were proposing to do something similar, but on an accelerated timeline, and with the added complexity of competing directly with the most watched entertainment event in America. As of early November 2025, the Jesus Bowl remains a work in progress. Asbury and Frank are actively seeking donors and searching for a venue. The financial and logistical challenges are enormous. But here's what's already clear. Whether or not the Jesus Bowl happens, it sparked a conversation that wasn't happening before about how Christians engage with mainstream culture. The Bad Bunny backlash revealed something significant. Millions of Christians feel culturally displaced by mainstream entertainment, and they want an alternative that reflects their values. And the Jesus Bowl plans to meet that desire not with criticism or politics, but with a positive message. Whether you agree with Asbury and Frank's approach or question their methods, one thing's undeniable. They forced the Christian community to question how we should engage cultural events. On February 8th, 2026, America will watch the Super Bowl halftime show. Some will tune into Bad Bunny's historic halftime performance, while some may find a Jesus Bowl alternative. But the real question isn't what the world will celebrate that night, but how we, as followers of Christ, will respond. And perhaps that's the real story. Not what happens on stage, but what happens in hearts when Christians decide how to be a light in a world full of darkness.